Hey everyone, welcome to Femme Fables. Megan here, and this month is Pride Month, so I thought it'd be a great way to have my friends on to talk about their stories and being a part of the LGBTQ plus community and supporting Pride, since we are allies of the community on this channel. So I have my friend Nick here.
Hello everybody.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. I'm very excited about this.
Me too.
So we're just kind of going to talk about your story and kind of when you kind of discovered you were gay and when you came out, was your family supportive of you, all that kind of stuff. And we were talking off camera, you grew up religious and Catholic, going to Catholic school and kind of that. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am 24 years old and yeah, I'm gay.
You've been with your partner Anthony for how long?
Yep, I've been with him for 3 years. December will be 4, so that's crazy.
How did you guys meet?
We actually met over Instagram.
Really?
Yeah, which is so weird because...
I feel like that's your generation's thing though,
Yeah, thankfully, honestly. I do not like dating apps at all.
I was going to ask you about that, have you done dating apps? Because, I started this podcast to be about dating. And I knew, I was like, I know Nick's in his early 20s, so I don't even know if he's done dating apps.
I have.
You have?
And I did not like it. Well, I just don't like, you almost just feel used on them.
Okay.
I don't know, you just feel like, sometimes you're like, am I good enough for people? Because you'll have a conversation with someone and you think oh my God, this is going so well.
Yeah.
And then they just ghost you, or you're like, was I just feeling this, or I guess
am I crazy?
Wrong.
Was I not what was wrong with me? We're hitting it off. And I think, I have an episode about ghosting. I'm so adamantly against it. I think it's awful to do to people, but it is such a common practice. People just do not care anymore.
I feel like people think that everyone's just so disposable. And I feel like just being in the
dating apps
relationship.
have driven that.
Yeah. And I feel like social media has really done it too.
Sure, yeah.
Because I have I've seen it just being on Instagram. Anthony and I have our joint Instagram, and then we have...
I know, I need to follow her joint one. Terry showed it to me. I was like, they have a joint one? She's like,
so
yeah,
funny.
you need to go watch it. And I was like, I do.
We ran into her at a restaurant, and she was like, I'm obsessed. I just saw your guys' photo, and I think it was just one of us in a Speedo, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah, we joke about having a threesome with you too. We're like, they're so pretty. They don't like us at all that, but
Yeah, no. But my point is just the fact that I feel like people think everyone's just so accessible now, because you can just see someone on Instagram and you can have a conversation with them so easily that you're like, okay, if this doesn't work out, I could just meet someone else so quick. Yeah.
That's how dating apps are too. I say that all the time. Oh, this person, they're nice. I get along with them really well. We had a connection, but I didn't really like this one particular thing. So I can just pick up my phone and have 500 other people to choose from. So why am I going to sit here and make it work? And I think that's such a awful part of our society as a whole. Is
it's
just
horrible.
Oh, well, I can just go find somebody else to make it work with. And relationships take work. They're hard,
Yes.
Yes.
And I feel like, it's just the whole... Relationships are hard, and you just have to work through them, and people don't want to put that effort out because of the society we're in, where it's like, okay, if I have a problem with this person, I don't need to deal with this. I can go find someone else. Yeah. But then you're just going to have another problem with someone else, and then you're just going to keep it. It's like a whole process.
Well, that goes into a deeper level of self-reflection and working on yourself. And why do people want to do that? That's hard and uncomfortable. And I can just go,
and just make someone else the problem.
Right. Yeah.
When they're not.
It's like the story of my life over here with dating.
Yeah. Well,
so you met on Instagram.
Yes, we met on Instagram.
So did you start following each other? How does one meet on Instagram? Because I've never had this happen. I have men slide in my DMs and they're like, hey girl.
Yeah. Well, for
but
us...
they're usually not hot, attractive men.
Well, yeah. I wasn't out when I first met him. So I went through
You weren't out yet?
Time. No.
What age did you come out?
I came out I came out to family when I was 20.
Okay.
And then when I was 21, because it was the same year, but then I turned like 21 and
Really?
then
I
I
didn't
did like a
realize
public.
I didn't realize it was not that long ago.
It really wasn't, but I went through like a whole health thing. I have ulcerative colitis. I don't know if you know what that is.
No, what is
it's
it?
just inflammation of your intestines.
Okay.
But I was diagnosed with that when I was 18. Like I graduated high school and I found out I had this. And long story short, I just went through like a year of not doing anything because I was like the medication that they were trying to have me do just was not working for me. I got down to like 110 pounds and I just was like,
Holy crap.
yeah, and I'm 6'2", so
Yeah,
let's just
I was
keep that in
like,
mind.
yeah.
110
I was like,
pounds.
he's very tall. I was like, I was not 110 pounds. I'm 5'2".
It was, yeah, it was scary, but I mean, that's a whole other story, but just going through that was about like a year that I left college, I came back, I just lived at home. And I remember when I was like really sick and I just was like, I just never got to live my life. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking to myself, like I never got to be me. And that alone was just like painful for me
right.
on top of the pain that I was in already. And I just remember saying to myself, if I get better, and hopefully when I get better, I just need to live my life and live it for me and be happy. Mm-hmm. And just be authentic to myself. Because like you said, I went to private Catholic school my whole life. And, you know, you were just taught that that wasn't okay, that wasn't normal.
Right, yeah.
And, you know,
that's bad.
You're like fighting this. And I was, you know, I didn't have any, you know, times where I was like really depressed about it. But I just remember, you know, I remember leaving. I knew in middle school for sure that I was gay. And I remember...
So was that the age that you were like...
I'm attracted to men.
I'm for sure gay.
I didn't know. I really was fighting it. I remember, like, my mom was a single mom, so I was just always with her, and I'm the last kid, so I was, you know... Friday nights, I was at home with mom watching rom-coms, you know, and I see Gerard Butler on the screen, and he's shirtless, and
You're like,
at
yes.
that time, I'm like, okay, I definitely am attracted to men,
right?
But I don't want to be, you know,
yeah.
I just am like, it was just, you know, something that I fought, like I said, and I remember in middle school, I was like, okay, I'm graduate school, and I remember graduating middle school, and I was just thinking to myself, I'm gonna go to high school and I'm gonna find a girl and I'm gonna date a girl.
Yeah,
like I just remember I was like, I'm gonna be fixed. And but I mean it's just what you feel like when you're first of all, when you're in the closet, quote unquote, and then you're also at a Catholic private school.
Being told this is bad, you're going to hell.
Right. And you're just brought up in this environment at school, which in the environment, it wasn't like something that was really talked about. It wasn't like, oh my God, you're gonna go to hell if you're gay. It just was like, you were wrong. Like, I was made fun of in middle school for, you know, I remember, it was so funny, I just talked to my friend that I've been friends with, her name's Anna, and I've been friends with her since kindergarten.
Aww.
And she recently came over and we were just talking about just all of our memories and stuff, just reminiscing, and she was like, remember when, she was like, I'll never forget in kindergarten, it was show and tell, and it was like you bring a picture of yourself, and she said, I brought in a photo of myself, I remember this photo, and it was me dressed as Ariel from The Little Mermaid.
It's my favorite Disney princess,
my
the
favorite
redhead.
princess, yeah. And it was a photo of me, I didn't have like the shells on or anything, I was a merman, but I had the red wig on. So, and I just was laughing because I'm like, it's just so funny. She was like, I remember it vividly, you know, and it's funny because just going through elementary, middle school, like Anna, like I had a crush on, and it's just funny to talk about these moments now, but it's just, I don't really know where I was going with that. I think I was just talking about
like when you recognize that.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I'm
just
gay,
always
I
been
like
who
boys.
I am.
Yeah.
And I never was in school and like teachers were never mean to me or anything like in elementary or middle school. It's just always been me. But that's what I was going to say was you know, people could see it when like the boys would say stuff. I always hung out with the girls.
So they would make fun of you?
Yeah, they would call me girl. Like they would just make fun of me. And I mean, I was sad, obviously, but and I remember one moment very specifically, this one girl who is actually a lesbian now. Well, she's always a lesbian, but she called me out in middle school and she was like, why don't you just say you're gay? And I was like, are you joking? Like, this is terrifying.
Right.
And I just remember, like, I just kind of ignored it and I was just like, we were playing Foursquare. But I just went through like that kind of stuff and I was just like, okay, I'm going to go to high school and I'm going to be, puberty, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm going to be normal and I'm going to date a girl. I'm going to find a girl and I'm going to date her. And that's not what happened.
Surprise.
I mean, and nothing even happened in high school. I just, like, I would talk to girls and I just never, I remember one time I was at my homecoming and my friend Preston was like, this girl really wants to hook up with you. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I can't. Like, I'm thinking to myself, like, I can't do that. I'm like, really? Like, oh my gosh. And she was one of my really good friends. Her name is Carol. And it was probably just, you know, it probably wasn't even real. I don't even know. But I just was like, I can't do it. Like, I remember thinking in my head, I was like, I can't do this. Like, I don't want to do something that I know I don't want to do, number one, and just to do it. And I don't want to take something from someone else, like a time from someone else, when it's not going to mean a thing.
Right.
You know?
No, for sure.
And I didn't, and...
It's a very mature thought for being in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at you.
I've always been an old soul. No, but I just
I can attest to that. I think you're an old soul.
Thank you. I mean, I honestly feel like that's a compliment. Some people are like, you're so boring, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I just know, like...
You have depth and wisdom to you, and a lot of people don't. They're shallow and lack depth.
Yes.
And boring to talk. They're boring to talk to.
Preaching right now.
Yeah.
It just got real. Hashtag they're boring to talk to.
They are.
But yeah, so, I mean, I knew in high school, leading up to, like, graduating, I was just like, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely gay. And then when the whole health, situation happened, I just was like, I can't, once I get better, I need to be myself. Yeah. And it took me about a year to do that. And it was hard for me because I was living in St. Pete, and this was like just as the dating app started kind of like taking off.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I was kind of like, okay, I'm kind of terrified to go on a dating app and say my preference is men when I'm not out. That was terrifying for me, but I just was like, honestly, I just want to like try it out. Like, I don't really know anyone really that's gay my age, so it's like whatever. And if it happens, it happens. Because at this point, I was like, whatever. Excuse me, but and I mean,
What dating apps did you go on?
Tinder.
Did you do Grindr?
I've never done Grindr.
I got introduced to Grindr at my hairdresser's apartment. He was doing my hair, and his friend came over to get his haircut, and he's a widower. His husband died of COVID.
Oh my gosh.
And he pulled up, because I was like, I've never seen this app. I'm very curious. I want to see. And oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God. Like,
that's all you
I don't even think you even saw most people's faces. It literally was just like their bodies, and then they put their dick size on there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
I mean, I'm on Twitter, so there's I have like a huge, like, I see a lot of gay stuff on Twitter, and just seeing like the screenshots, people will post like some, comedic things from Grindr, but it's just like, it makes me feel like I made the right decision to never get on Grindr, because I just really like connecting with people.
Odd.
Like, I like having an actual connection with someone, and I feel like that's not the case, really.
It seems very
for a lot of
physical.
People.
Like, it's just physically
very
driven.
physical.
Yeah.
And I never did Grindr. I did Bumble and Tinder. Okay. Started out doing those, and
I'd love to see the gay side of Bumble.
It's very, when I did it, it was minimal.
Okay.
And it was hard because you're like at this point, I just want to have a conversation. And I think that that's really why I used it, because it was like, I want to talk to people that are gay, because I haven't. Yeah. I just want to it wasn't even for me to go hook up with
some
anybody.
Exposure to like people my age that are gay.
Let me just talk to somebody,
right.
So I can have a conversation. Yeah. And that's what I did. It was good. A lot of it, of course, there were people that were like, send me a photo or blah blah blah, but it's just like you just like, get through that. And I had conversations with people, and there was some people too that were in the closet and went through the same thing that I was going through at the time. And that's why it's like, it's one of those things where it's good and bad. Like social media is good and bad, and dating apps are good and bad.
Yeah, there's good and bad to everything. Like, I've definitely met some wonderful people off dating apps. I've had 4 relationships off of a dating app or what. Like, Match.com was a website back when I first started. Like, it was not even an app yet. Like, you logged in from your computer onto your Match.com.
Those were the days.
So when you came out at 20 to your family, because I hear this a lot, like when they come out to their family, they're like, oh yeah, we knew. Like, was your mom like,
so
that makes sense? No. Like,
well, what was funny was there were like a couple guys that I talked to off of Tinder. Actually, one guy before, like, that I didn't date, but I had talked to before Anthony, was also through Instagram, just randomly followed. And it was so weird because it's just like, it's almost like you just get the vibe, like, okay, they're also gay. It wasn't like, this was pre, like, rainbow flags in the bio. Yeah. So it wasn't like super obvious. Yeah. But I definitely felt like, because at that time I started talking to this guy, and I would visit him. He lived in Tampa, and I think my mom kind of was like, where's he going? Because I lived at home. Wasn't like I was on my own and it was easy. It was like, I'm gonna go hang out with my friends, and it was like, my friends are in, Gainesville, and they're in Tallahassee. So, I would have to make stuff up. So I think she started to like think about it a little bit. And then once I met Anthony, it was like that month that I first met him in person, I was over there like constantly, like, and he went to UT, so I was constantly at.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
I went to UT.
Yep. Spartans.
Yeah.
Yes.
Way before Anthony.
No. You were in his graduating class.
I graduated the year Anthony was born.
Yes. Exercise science nutrition. But I was over there like so much just because it was one of those things, like our first date which was huge for me, because it was like, because the guy I was talking to.
This your first real date? Like,
this was my first like actual, like, oh my gosh, like the first
you met up with
person that I talked to,
yeah.
I would just go over to his house and we would hang out there, and then we would go to like Chipotle or something. Yeah. This was like, we went to Chichio Water.
Oh,
Anthony and I went to Chichio Water in Tampa, in Soho,
on Howard,
and we still go to Chichio's all the time.
I love
because
Chichio's.
It's like just our favorite. But
I go to the one here on 4th. Yeah,
I'm literally always there. But this is not sponsored. It should.
But if you want to be,
yes, Chichio restaurant group. But yeah, when we first met up, like, we talked a little bit, and we went to Chichio and had our date, and it just was so comfortable. It was like, and that was weird for me because it was like, okay, I'm like not even trying, and that was weird.
Just effortless.
Yeah. So when that happened, I was like, okay, this is something that I definitely want to put my time into. And I was like over at his place at UT just throughout that whole month, and I know my mom was like, what's he doing? And like one time I accidentally like fell asleep there, and she was like so freaked out because she was like, now this is also like a little, like maybe a year or a little over a year after her son was just like constantly on the couch for a whole year because he was so sick. So she was just worried about me.
Yeah, right. She hadn't heard from you. You hadn't come home. Yeah.
And I was like, I just remember she like called me so many times, and I felt so bad. She was like, where are you? And I was like, I fell asleep at Adam and Chelsea's. Like, I just like made this whole thing up. And I was like, I'm just going to stay here because I'm so tired. I don't want to drive. And like, it just was, at that point, I think she started to know. And then Anthony and I like kind of stopped talking for about a month. And in that time, I actually decided to move to Tampa because I was like, maybe that's why I met him, because I kind of got to see Tampa. And then I moved to Tampa, Anthony and I rekindled, and then we started just like talking again. And he goes, like, when we first started talking, he was like, I'm actually going to Vegas and I have a trip. Do you want to go? And I was like, okay. So then I had to have this conversation with my mom.
Now, what story are you making up to go to Vegas?
Right. And at that point, I just was like, because I was posting, stories, and Anthony was in my stories, and I would talk to my mom about him all the time, and I'm still wearing this bracelet that I took from him when I first met him, and it says "Enjoy the journey." And my mom at one point was like, and this was the time. We went to a restaurant in my mom and I went to a restaurant in Tampa. She pointed it out, and I was like, "Yeah, it's Anthony's." And she just would say stuff like during this dinner. I'm not out yet, and she was like, as long as you're happy. And I'm like, what's that supposed to mean? And she's like, as long as you're happy. And I was like, okay, well, you've never said that about any of my other friends, so what does that mean? And she was like, I just want you to be happy. I was so mad. I was like, she's not going to out me right now. Like, I need to do this myself. Let me do this. And what was weird was I was planning on doing it that night. Like, I wanted to tell her. But it's so hard. Like, I was planning it, and I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, I can do this. And then she starts saying that stuff, and we're on our way home. And she once again brings up, she was like, why'd you get so kind of like almost offended when I was like, as long as you're happy. I was like, because you've never said that about anybody else, And she was like, okay. And she was like, so what's going on? She was like, are you guys dating? And I was like, yeah. Well, I was like, we're not dating, we're talking. Society.
We're just hanging out.
Yeah. And I was like, and at that point, that was just like basically the coming out, and we cried, and it was just, it was just like, she knew, and she was like, I just want you to be happy.
She really just wants you to be happy.
Genuinely. And I knew that, but it's just, you hear stories from other people, and you hear these horror stories of, your mom kicking you out because you're gay, or, just not talking to you for 3 months. Yeah. And that terrified me. Anthony has his own story, and hearing his story was super helpful for me, because it was like, I can kind of prepare myself, but it's just scary when you are nervous for the person you love, like the most. Can't even
imagine, right? Like, for them to either see disappointment on their face or not to, like, I'm pretty sure my hairdresser, I think his mom took it harder than his father. And his father was in the military, like, super hardcore, like, totally accepting, and his mom, like, just shut down. So when did Anthony come out at a younger age, or?
He came out, I want to say maybe 2 or, I don't know, I want to say, I really don't know. I think it was between 1 and 2 years before me.
Okay. Are you guys the same age?
No. He is 25.
Okay.
And I am 24.
Okay, so he's a year older.
Yeah, but he had a relationship before me.
Okay.
And he's dated girls before me,
and you never dated a girl.
Never dated a girl.
Okay.
And it's so funny. I had this conversation with my dad the other day, and he was like, I don't even know how we got on the subject, but I was like, I never dated anyone. And he thought I dated that Carol girl that I was in high school. I was like, Dad, I never dated a girl. And he was like, this is explicit. Okay. I don't know why he thought this. He was like, you said that you changed. And I was like, first of all, this is pissing me off that you're saying that I changed. He was like, because you just didn't like it. And I was like, Dad, I never said that, and that's never happened, so I don't know where that even came out.
Yeah, you're like, I never dated or been intimate with a girl, like, it wasn't like...
And my dad is so supportive. It just was so confusing, like, when he was saying that, I was like, I don't know what you were on.
Yeah, right.
But
you're
that
like,
never
what
came out of my
drugs are
mouth.
you taking? Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we definitely, Anthony and I have definitely different stories of coming out. But overall for me, everyone was definitely like supportive of me. There were friends, like people that I knew in high school.
Yeah.
That, you make that coming out post. I came out during St. Pete Pride of 2018.
Okay.
For, our company. And I just posted it on Instagram because I was like, honestly, like, I'm just so happy, and this is just the perfect time. And you're around all these people that you just feel like you're so accepted, And yeah, you're just around people that are so supportive of you, and you can just tell how much love is around you that I'm like, I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah.
I mean, my family knew, like, people knew.
Yeah.
You know, and it just, I mean, in high school, I just remember one time, like, someone said something like, oh, you think Nick's gay or whatever, and I just remember, even at that point, I was like, I really don't care.
Yeah.
Like, it's just is like, you need to do it on your own time.
Right.
And I never, like, I would have been so mad. I've heard stories of people just being outed.
Yeah, by others. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just so horrible.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine that happening, but
because it's your own personal journey and your decision, right? Like,
yeah.
I'm ready, like, to do
Yes.
this now, right? And it takes a lot. And like you said, you grew up Catholic, you know what I mean, in an environment where that was bad. You were telling me off camera that you went to lunch
Yes.
the other day. So talk about that,
Yes.
because I think it's important, because, you know, a lot of people have that misnomer that if you're super religious, you're anti-gay, you don't like gay people. Because there are people that are very much like that, but there are a lot of people who aren't like that at all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I basically, like I said, I don't know if I said this earlier, but I went to private Catholic school. I think I did say that my whole life, elementary, middle school, high school. And the priest at my elementary and middle school was just so close with everyone that was there. And my family, we were just so close with him. And, you know, you just see all this stuff on the news and just in general of the Pope saying, 1 minute he thinks that same-sex civil union should be a thing, and then 1 minute he's saying you can't do it in the church. And, you know, I just wanted to have a conversation with someone that I grew up around, that I know loves me, and that I don't know, I ran into him multiple times at our barber, and we would just have conversations, and I remember him telling me at one point, he was like, I just want you to know that you and Anthony are always welcome at the church. And I was like that for me,
It's huge.
it's just huge, because all you hear is just the negative. And, you know, I have my own, you know, things with the church, and everyone has their own things. But for me, it more was for someone that I loved growing up, and that just meant so much to me growing up.
Sure. Yeah.
So it just was like, you know, I messaged him on Facebook, and I was like, I really want to have a conversation, or I just want to go take you to lunch, you know. And he, you know, after he got vaccinated and stuff, we went to lunch, and I kind of talked to him about everything, and I asked him about, you know, everything with the Pope, and I was like, it's just, you know, it's frustrating because you want to be accepted, and when you spend your whole, you know, most of your life just in a community that you later on feel like doesn't accept you, you're kind of like, this sucks, you know. And he, you know, acknowledged that it's just the way he was talking to me was like, he wants it, you know. And that was huge for me, because he was like, you know, we've come so far within the last 10 years. I mean, and that's true. Within the last 10 years, even just the LGBT, the rights and the whole movement and everything has changed so much in the last 10 years. And I just feel like the church is so dated.
Oh, for sure.
And everything's happening so
sure.
slow.
Yeah.
And that's really what he was saying. And he was like, you know, there's steps.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like, okay, he sees this and he wants it too. Like, I can see it. And he was like,
right. So the fact that he was like, this is something I also think, you know, civil union should be a thing. Like, I don't want to make this a religious thing.
yeah, and I don't want it. I
don't
don't
wanna
want
get
it
to
to
that
be
point.
either.
Yeah.
But
my thing is,
for
it doesn't
me,
impact me, so I don't get like.
Yeah, and that's my thing
I'm
too.
also not religious, so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everyone has their own faith and whatever they believe in.
Right.
And for me, it wasn't even about that. It was just about this person that I grew up, you know,
and had so much respect and love for.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And it was nice to know that his opinion of me didn't change.
Yeah.
Even though people I go to or I went to high school with, their opinions of me changed.
Really?
You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, I mean, you know how you can see, well, at this point, I cared because I had the time to care. But I remember when I first came out and I had posted the Instagram, I had the app where you can see who unfollows you.
Yep.
And
IG Insights, or I don't know, there's one of them, yeah.
It was something, and I just saw a couple people, and I was like, I honestly don't care. Like, if this is going to affect your opinion on me, then you need to go search in here, because that's not my problem.
Right, no, that's definitely their problem,
yeah.
not your problem.
And, I don't know, yeah, so...
Wow, that's...
It's just been really, yeah.
That people, like, they're like, oh, you're gay, unfollow. Like, wow.
That you have, like, that much, like, hurt in you.
Right,
I don't even
like,
know. Like, go get help. I don't know. I just, you know.
Did you
for
ever,
me, it just
like...
has been so, everyone's been, like, super supportive.
And I think that's a great thing that, like, for people maybe who haven't yet or are scared to, like, to hear that, because you hear the bad stories of, my family stopped talking to me, they disowned me.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, that's why when you and I talked off camera, I was like, it's important about, like, the support, and then, you know, it's not a horror story, it's actually a really good story. Did you ever feel, have you ever experienced a moment where you felt, like, discriminated against because you were gay?
Yeah, and I don't know if it actually was, really, but it's like, you have moments where you encounter people and you're with your significant other.
I was about to say probably, so you and Anthony are out.
Yeah. And something happens just at the restaurant and you're just like, is this happening because I'm gay? Like, we were visiting another country and you just wonder, like, different things happen, and it's just like, you wonder, like, because it's probably not as, like, open as it is here, you know, as far as, like, accepting people.
Yeah, especially depending on where you're at.
Right.
Yeah.
So you just, you know, we have those moments where we're like, is it because of that? And, you know, you just, I don't know, I just didn't let it really get to me. I just was like, if it is, like, that's so stupid, you know? But it sucks, because it's, people still deal with that. And we definitely, like I said, the past 10 years, so much has changed, like, where I felt like I could really come out. And even now there's, like, it's so good to see kids that are in school, you know, just being themselves.
Oh yeah, it's awesome, right.
And it's like, and obviously it's not all like rainbows and butterflies, like, they're getting bullied, you know, there's people that are getting bullied, but for them to feel like that, like, we have our joint Instagram and we get messages from people that are closeted that are like, how do you deal with this? Or, you know, we'll say something on our Instagram and someone, like, I remember one time this kid was like, I come from a really religious family and I'm just really scared, you know, to say anything. I don't know what to do with my religious beliefs and, like, all this. And it's like, you know, I was like, you need a, you know, that's something you have to do, where you just have to be in your, it's something you have to kind of have a conversation with yourself with, and just do what you want to do. And I don't know, that's why I love social media sometimes. I really don't like social media a lot. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but that's one thing that I love about social media, and that way is we get the messages of people that want advice on coming out and want advice on how to handle certain situations, and we can talk to them and help them.
That's awesome.
out.
That's amazing. That is the good thing. Like, even doing this podcast, when people reach out to me, like, I never did it to make money or whatever. It's just a creative outlet, like something to do during COVID or whatever. I was going through a breakup that was really tough, but, like, people reach out to me and they're like, I dated a narcissist and it was super hard for me. And if you've never been through it, you don't understand somebody, like, how hard it is to come out of that. And, you know, dealing through heartbreak, you know what I mean? Especially during COVID, like, when you're locked by yourself, like, you don't have, you know what I mean? Like, you live alone, it can be tough. And so, but that is the good thing, because I'm not a big social media person. But you've got like 7,700 followers.
Yes. On my, like, that's on my
Instagram.
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
Our joint one definitely is like, where we get a lot of that because it definitely has more of a following.
Yeah.
But
7,700 is a lot of effing people.
It is, and it's weird because I don't really like. Sometimes I'm just like I'll post like just a stupid photo. And I'm just like I don't really care. Like I just I don't know.
I like the one of you crawling across the floor.
Yeah, that one
was fun.
Well, that one.
Is that to Nicki Minaj? Don't you love Nicki Minaj?
I'm obsessed with Nicki Minaj.
That's like your.
Yeah. You know what I just read about her too was just because of the whole. Obviously, it's Pride Month, but she was supposed to do a concert. She was getting paid like millions of dollars for a concert in Saudi Arabia, and she canceled it because they arrest people for being gay.
Really?
Yeah. Like she had tweeted out about it, and I didn't even know about that, but I saw like the tweets and everything, and I'm like, we need people to do that. And obviously, people are doing it a lot, but yeah, just another reason for me to love her.
Yeah, right. You're like even better. So we'll probably go ahead and wrap it up. But so we'll end it with what advice would you give someone who's closeted, thinking about coming out, scared to do so, afraid of what might happen? What advice would you give them, or kind of biggest lesson learned looking back for yourself?
I would say never do it on anyone else's time but yours, and to know that even if you feel like no one's going to love you or no one's going to accept you, there's a whole community that will and that does. We don't even know it yet, but there's just always someone that you can talk to, and there's always people out there that are going to love you, and just be you and don't waste the time because it's not worth it.
All right. Well,
life is too short.
Life is really too short. And if they don't like it, fuck them. No.
No, really. They don't, then fuck them.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I loved having you, and Anthony will have to come back on.
Oh my gosh, we love it. Anthony would.
Yes.
He loves
you gotta let me know. We will come back on, and then I need to sign up for some dance classes, some hip hop dance classes. So thank you so much if you're listening on the podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, comment. If you have a story that you want to talk about, part of being the LGBTQ plus community, feel free to email us at femfables@gmail.com, and we will see you next time. Happy Pride, everyone.
Happy Pride.
Bye.